Hey everybody and welcome. This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun, and this is my take on my Bantu cents. This is an opportunity for me to look at current events in the world and give my 2 cents of what I'm thinking going on. So one of the news items that caught my attention this week, and every week this year, it has to be the Russian-Ukraine war. And I really wanted to bring attention to how monumental and important this war is to the existence of Russia as an independent sovereignty. I'll start off with a story from history. One of a country that I found very interesting, or I'll say a nation, was that of Prussia in the 1700s. So Prussia existed in modern day Germany, northeast Germany, northwest Poland region, in modern day Brandenburg, Germany. And what Prussia was, it was a highly militarized state. People would pass jokes that most countries had an army. Prussia was an army with a country. So when you look back at Prussia, it did some amazing things because of this high amount of military might, because of their strong conscription-based army. And one of those being, it was so strong that it was able to defend against Austria, Russia, and France at the same time during some of the most powerful times in the 1700s in a war called the Seven-Year War. It was primarily fought with Prussia and the United Kingdom on one side, and the United Kingdom was off. They financially supported a lot of the war, but they were all collecting their colonies overseas, and they had Prussia doing a lot of the fighting in continental Europe. But what was really impressive about this and why I wanted to bring the stories up is just because of the militarized state of Prussia. And when I look at Prussia then and I started to look at commonalities and parallels today, I have to draw the contrast or possible correlation. I don't want to say correlation, but I'll definitely say the similarities between the Prussia of the 1700s and what I'm seeing with NATO. So what it appears to be is NATO is moving its border from a lukewarm Germany to a hawkish Poland. And what Ukraine is kind of the yin to yang of Poland. If you look at a map of continental Europe, Poland to the north, Ukraine to the south, it bifurcates the Eurasian, or it bifurcates the European peninsula of Eurasia. You can't go by land on continental Europe to Russia without going through Poland and Ukraine. You can't go by land in Europe from Russia to Western Europe by land unless you're going through Poland and Ukraine. So what would happen if Ukraine is successful in this war is that it will allow the opportunity for the West or NATO to monopolize this corridor of Poland and Ukraine, because the Ukrainians will most definitely be very favorable to the West, because if they win, it will primarily be because of the influence, support, and weapons from the West. So one of the reasons you look at a map now with the Russia-Ukraine war, you see the Russians really trying to cling to that eastern portion of Ukraine is because how important it is, because this eastern portion of Ukraine is actually blocking the Sea of Azov. So these regions such as Donetsk, Kherson, Crimea is very important, because without this, which is part of Ukraine, without this, the Russian North Caucasus are fully exposed to the West. So you not only would they lose Ukraine, which is a very populous country to the south, but they'll have this militarization of Poland and Ukraine. And you know it's going to be a militarization of Poland and Ukraine, because if you look at some of the most militarized hawkish states in Europe right now that are part of NATO, you'll come down to four that stands out as far as military size, GDP, expenditure on military size as a percentage of population. When you start digging into statistics, you will see that it's Poland, it's Greece, it's Turkey, and Romania as the top-notch players on these metrics. And all of these countries are blocking Russia. So it's only obvious, it's very obvious that if Ukraine was to be brought into the fold, it would be another one of these brotherhoods. It would be highly militarized. So therefore, it would cut off Moscow's ability to move west. The Baltics are already secured. If they lose Crimea, Donetsk, uh, Kherson, it will also open up the Sea of Azov. On the other side of the Sea of Azov is Russian territory of the North Caucasus, and this is a very sensitive region. One, it has massive economic potential because it's a source of a lot of great oil, great resources for Russia, such as petroleum and coal. But it's also politically threatening because this is where you get a lot of the Islam, or it's a major Islamic region of Russia. So for those that remember Chechnya, there was a Chechnyan war. So what Russia's trying to protect is, one, their ability to keep somewhat of the ability to dig into Ukraine and section off a piece of eastern Ukraine, but it's also trying to protect this area of the North Caucasus that would be highly susceptible to revolts. So these two things are very important. So it's going to be interesting in the coming weeks, months, or maybe even years to see what's going to unfold. On one hand, Ukraine could triumph, and then the West and NATO will have this exposure, this soft underbelly to get to Russia. And what would they do if they are successful with bringing Russia into the fold, or replacing the current regime with a more sensible, or one that is more akin to NATO's agenda? What would they do with this acquiescent Russia, this powerful nation? Or the Russians can be successful. And if they are successful, what would they do with these hanging on to a piece of Ukraine? Would they try to be even more aggressive and assertive and try to basically capture all of Ukraine, etc.? So it's going to be an interesting future between these two, and it's going to basically have major geopolitical impacts on whoever wins at the end of the day. So tell me your thoughts, what you think. Do you think I got this assessment right? Do you think I'm reaching? I'd love to hear your feedback. Also, feel free to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the content. And feel free also to look at some of our products. We have geopolitical products that we have out there on the market. So please read in description, take a look below, and let us know your thoughts. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.